Hello and welcome to Makar. Well, here I am back in my living room. Hopefully you're there in yours. It's really wonderful to welcome you back. Makar has been just such a great series to curate and to host. It's been a huge privilege being here in my living room every week. And this is our 14th week, and this is actually our last Makar. It's the last one in the series. Don't worry if people are sad about that. You can get the whole lot of them and you can watch them again. You can get the box set and enjoy the whole season of Makar. Well, the idea behind Makar is to pass the baton on, Makar to maker to maker, bard to bard. And you'll know if you've been turning up to Makar regularly, you'll know that it's the word for National Poet of Scotland, the Scottish Poet Laureate. And for the moment, that's me. But it wasn't always me. Before me, there was Edwin Morgan. If Edwin had lived, he would have been 100 this year on the 27th of April. And after Edwin Morgan, there was Liz Lochhead. Here she is in a minute, just about to appear on the screen. Hello, Liz. It's fantastic to see you here in our Zoom room. And it's fantastic that you've joined us for the very last Makar. It's really wonderful to have you here. And we've got so much to talk about and to think about. But you were, of course, the previous Makar from 2011 to 2016. I first came across your work when I was 16. And my dad's bought me a copy of Memo for Spring, and my life wouldn't have been the same had I not had that book, and my writing wouldn't have been the same had I not had that book. So I always feel I owe you a great debt of gratitude. I just used to read it obsessively over and over again, and I'd like certain lines would jump out at me, like a U-shaped depression in my pillow, and competent. And competent at Peever, so I really loved that book, and then I got to hear you. Actually, I got taken to hear you when I was 16 to a poetry reading. I used to go to those quite a lot and absolutely loved the excitement of them. Often they would have poetry readings at the Highland Institute in Tuckey Hall Street, poem and pints nights, which were more pints than poetry. But you're a poet. You're a playwright. You've won the Queen's Gold Medal for Poetry. Your first book was Memo for Spring in 1972, and you followed that with several other books. You've written over 20 plays. I've seen several of your plays. I saw just last year the wonderful Tartuffe in a new version of it. And you first began, didn't you, at art school at the really wonderful Glasgow School of Art. So we'll find out so much about you as the programme goes on. But for the moment, welcome, my previous Makar to Makar.
Thank you very much, my dear and old friend. Yes, known you for 30-something years, Jackie, because the first time I met you, all I can remember is that I'd heard of you for ages and ages. Jim Kelman, Tom Leonard and Alistair Gray used to all read about you, and I'd not met you yet. And we were somewhere like London, and that night we met, we instantly liked each other, and you told me you were pregnant. And then you were reading, and I was going to be on just after you. And you had that way that you have of just poems go straight to the heart. So I started crying. So I had to go on the stage with these stripes of mascara down my face. And I've always said ever since, never go on after Jackie Kay with unless you've got very waterproof mascara. So there you go.
I like that story. Yeah, I remember that night really vividly, because you're so lovely to me, and I was only just slightly pregnant, so only had a wee bit of a bump, and it's amazing to think that Matthew will be 32 this Friday. So that shows you that's 33 years ago. But
my goodness.
Yeah, and I was saying to my mum actually that it makes me feel older to say I've got a 32-year-old son than it does to say I'm about to be 59. And she said, how do you think I feel having a pensioner for my son? But it's so interesting, isn't it, the whole business of age, and Edwin, that we were both Edwin's friend as well, and loved him, our previous Makar, the first national poet of Scotland, and he lived to be really old and to start to
lived to be 90.
That's
he
right.
died not long after his 90th birthday, and it would have been his 100th birthday this year, and there were going to be all these celebrations which have had to be postponed, not cancelled. So I think we're going to make Edwin Morgan's centenary next year in 2021, and I think that's what we'll have to do, like everything else. You know, I'm looking forward to doing that.
Yeah, yeah.
Not just online, out loud in public. You know, doing some things about Edwin Morgan. We missed his birthday, we were in lockdown.
Absolutely. Well, we thought that we'd both of us read an Edwin Morgan poem as a kind of tribute to him, and the one that I picked to read is From a City Balcony. How often I think of you and the day grows bright. Our silent love wanders in Glenfruin with the butterflies and cuckoos. Bring me the drowsy country thing. Let it drift along the traffic by the window with a cloud of witnesses, a sparkling burn, white lambs, the blaze of gorse. The cuckoos calling madly, the real white clouds over us, white butterflies about your head in the short hot grass. And then the witness was my hand closing on yours, my mouth brushing your eyelids and your lips again and again, till you sighed and turned for love. Your breasts and thighs were blazing like the gorse. I covered your great fire in silence there. We let the day grow old along the grass. It was in the silence that love was. Footsteps and witnesses in this Glasgow balcony. Who pours over such joy like mountain water? It brims, it spills over and over, down to the parched earth and the relentless wheels. How often will I think of you until one dying step forgets the slight, forgets that we ever knew the happy glen, or that I ever said, we must jump into the sun, and we jumped into the sun.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Because we had a wee confab in the phone, I knew you were going to read an Edwin Morgan love poem. I mean, they're wonderful, his love poems, but he was such a varied poet. So this is the very kind of opposite end of his this is a dialogue. You'll meet two very interesting people. I think this is a very, very funny poem, but it's also, I think, a very moving poem in the end. It's called The First Men on Mercury. We come in peace from the third planet. Would you take us to your leader? Bor Stretter, Bor, Stretter Hall. This is a little plastic model of the solar system with working parts. You are here, and we are there, and we are now here with you. Is this clear? Gol Horop, Bor, a Bor Hana Hana. Where we come from is blue and white with brown. You see, we call the brown here land. The blue is sea, and the white is clouds over land and sea. We live on the surface of the brown land. All round is sea and clouds. We are men. Men come, glot men. Glor ben and menko. Men hall. Men come in peace from the third planet, which we call Earth. We are Earthmen. Take us, Earthmen, to your leader. Thmen, Bor Hosop. Yulida Tanhana. Harabost Yulida. I am the Yulida. You see my hands, we carry no banner, we come in peace. The spaceways are all Stretterhorn. Glon peace men, all Horapana Tantko. Tankum Atmastrosop. Glop Yulida. Atoms are peace call in our Haraban. Men back Warabos from Tanhanahana. You men, we know Bor Hospitant. Bor, we know you leader. Go strog back spetter quick. We can't tant to Bor tant and go back spetter now. Bang hopper now, yes. Third planet back. You leader will go back blue, white, brown, now Hannah. There is no more talk. Golhan, fast hopper? No, you must go back to your planet. Go back in peace. Take what you have gained, but quickly. Stretterwater, gol. Of course, but nothing is ever the same now, is it? You remember Mercury.
Fantastic. I remember hearing him read that often. People used to be in absolute stitches, you know.
I like reading it. I like very much reading it to 7-year-olds in school because they get it. They can see that. They go, oh, one person changed with the other. And to me, it ends up being a very, very profound poem about communication. And it's a poem against the whole idea of cultural appropriation, because cultural appropriation is natural. You might as well say the Rolling Stones shouldn't sing the blues. You know,
I like that.
you know,
I like that. And it was lovely that these wee books came out this year, you know, 5 of them.
Go buy them. There are 520s in a little box. They're lovely. Yeah. I've been buying some to give to people for presents.
Yeah, I loved your introduction. I thought it was great. Fantastic.
Oh, thanks very much. I did Scotland and Jackie did Love.
Love.
Of course, Jackie got Love. I wanted love, Jackie.
I fought for love. I fought to get love. And I got it. But it's going to be such a treat because you've planned an extraordinary reading for us tonight. And the other wonderful thing about tonight is that we have all 3 singers from Makar to Makar on for the first time ever. And they're also going to be all singing together in one of the songs. So you're in for a real treat tonight. But you're going to kind of kick us off properly now, Liz, aren't you, with your first set?
Yeah. It's our first set. There is absolutely no point, Jackie, in being on the last time and you don't get something special, like all 3 singers at once. This is in a way connected to, this is a dialogue poem as well, but it's a dialogue poem about somebody having a dialogue with herself. It's a poem that I like to do for the start of readings because I can gauge the temperature of the audience. So I don't know whether I can do that very well across a Zoom, but I'll try my best. But I usually find out when I can get the audience to laugh or smile. And then I know whether I'm going to have a hard time or an easy time. But it's a wee daft wee poem. It's just called Kids Poem Bairnsang. It's the first of the phone call poem. I was asked to write something to encourage children to keep writing in hometown English. Children from all over Britain to keep writing. And of course I wanted to do that. You know, I love writing in Scots, but I don't think Scots is any better than anything else. But I'm Scottish, so of course I write Scots sometimes. This is Kids Poem Bairnsang anyway. An awfully big introduction for an awfully daft wee poem. Anyway, Kids Poem Bairnsang. It was January, and a gaidreich day the first day I went to the school. So my mum happed me up in my good navy blue napcoat with the red tartan hood, burled a scarf around my neck, put on my pixie and my pockets, it was that bitter, said, "Noo you'll no starve," gave me a wee kiss and a kid on scalp in the bum, and sent me off across the playground to the place I'd learned to say. It was January and a really dismal day the first day I went to school. So my mother wrapped me up in my best navy blue topcoat with the red tartan hood, twirled a scarf around my neck, pulled on my bubble hat and mittens, it was so bitterly cold, said, "Now you won't freeze to death," gave me a little kiss and a pretend slap on the bottom, and sent me off the playground to the place I'd learned to forget to say. It was January and a gaidreich day the first day I went to the school. So my mum happed me up in my good navy blue napcoat with a red tartan hood, burled a scarf around my neck, put on my pixie in my pockets. It was that bitter. Oh, saying it was one thing. But when it came to writing it, in black and white, the way it had to be said was as if you were posh, grown up, male, English and dead. Nobody wants to be, well, you wouldn't mind posh, grown up in English, but nobody wants to be dead. This was also a first phone call poem. I was asked to write something to go in a book about now. I've not been sent the book yet, but it was to celebrate, John Keats on the anniversary of his death. Poor John Keats died. He was 25. He died at the age of 25, hideously of TB that he contracted from his brother a couple of years before. And he died the year after writing 8 of the greatest odes in English literature. But he also was a great poet for quite folk kind of poems as well. I didn't realise till I was growing up that he'd written Meg, She Was a Gypsy. But he also wrote my favourite poem John Keats wrote my favourite poem in the English language. And this is a poem about that. So although it was a first to phone call poem, it was very much something that I wanted to say myself. I'd been trying to write this poem for a long time. So I managed to get it done it was about a year ago, a bit less. So the poem's called Coming to Poetry, an Ode. Reading you, John Keats, at 70, I hurt, pierced again by your beauty that is truth, was truth to me and my 14-year-old heart. Knowing nothing of nightingales, my melting youth, still blind to the perfection of a Grecian urn, deaf yet to Darian, Homer, a closed book, burst open to La Belle Dame's Song Merci. This night, my thoughts return to that seeming simple as a song ballad, to what it took to have me come to poetry. My joy forever, my truth and terror too. This was the Cuban Missile Crisis, October 62. In English, last week we'd finished St. Agnes' Eve. Next week, nuclear obliteration is due, unless there's a Khrushchev climb down they don't believe will happen. Countdown to doom. Mr. Valentine read us La Belle Dame, and into the room came yon knight at arms, so haggard and so woebegone, with the lilies' pale anguish on his brow, on his cheeks the rose fading, withering like our now. Was it to be all over and done, our 1960s sweetness scarce begun? My warm jewels never to be unclasped one by one, my fragrant bodice never loosened, nor by degrees my unbuttoned garments fall rustling to my knees. Oh, I longed, as I had never longed before, for my wild eyes to be closed just once, with kisses 4. I couldn't sleep that night, for next week we really might, like you, poor dear John Keats, be dead. I remember this so vividly, I'm there, feeling again that middle of the night, deep dread, standing looking out that window in the hall to where, perhaps soon to be just gone. Not here, under the bluish lamplight, our ordinary street lay weirdly stilled and strange, like a Magritte out of that art book off the school library shelf. In my parents' room, someone else not sleeping stirs. We're all scared, but you've to keep it to yourself, though day by day I see these wee tells betray their fears, how they'd looked at each other, nothing said, when Kennedy addressed his nation. A blockade. Now hourly, when the news comes on, I know by their clenched attention to the radio, it didn't happen. I'm still alive, still hunger for poetry, for life. You never got to take sweet, silly, loving Fanny Braun to wife, John Keats. Well, I, who never thought to survive into my beldam years, must needs be stoical at 70. My Tom, dear husband of my heart, taken from me and from this life he loved, an astonishing 10 years ago. I'm here. Birds still sing, sometimes. I know, I must try not to yearn, for all the sweetness is gone and past return. The next poems that I'm going to do are very different kinds of poems, in that they demanded, I got a phone call from a part of myself, and the first one is called What the Pool Said on Midsummer's Day. I'm going to do 2 poems together about the opposite solstices. The first one's about the summer solstice on Midsummer's Day, and the second poem is about the shortest day of the winter, the darkest day. And I wrote them quite far apart, but they seem like a pigeon pair, as they say. This is what the pool said on Midsummer's Day. And I like writing in other voices apart from my own. And this isn't even a person speaking, it's a piece of the landscape, alive and talking out loud. What the pool said. I've led you by my garrulous banks, babbling on and on till drunk on air, and sure it's only water talking, you come at last to my silence. Listen, I'm dark and still and deep enough. Even this hottest gonging sun on this longest day can't white me out. What are you waiting for? I lie here, inviting, winking you in. The woman was easy. Like to like, I called her. She came. In no time I had her out of herself, slipping on my water stockings, leaning into, being cupped and clasped in my green glass bra. But it's you I want, and you know it, man. I watch you, stripped, knee-deep in my shallows, telling yourself that what makes you gasp and balls your gut is not my coldness, but your own fear. Your reasonable fear. What's true in me admits it, though deeper, oh, older than any reason. Yes, I could drown you. You could fill my depths. It's not unheard of. What's fished in me could make flesh of you, my wet weeds against your thigh. It could turn nasty. I could have you gulping fistfuls, fighting yourself back from me. I get darker and darker, suck harder. On the brink, man, you wish I'd flash and dazzle again. You'd make a fetish of zazzing dragonflies. You want I should zip myself up with the kingfisher's flight path, be beautiful. I say, no tricks. I say, just trust I'll soak through your skin and slake your thirst. I say, no tricks. I say, just trust I'll soak through your skin and slake your thirst. I watch. You clench and come into me. And a lot more than 30 years later, I wrote for me and my husband, actually, this one, which is called In the Midwinter. John Donne has a wonderful poem, a nocturnal on St. Lucy's Day, which is, it's the day when the light starts to come back. You know, it's the day after the shortest day. And he has this wonderful phrase. He calls, he says at the beginning of the poem, it is the year's midnight and the days. So mine in the midwinter. At midday on the year's midnight, into my mind came, I saw the new moon late ye stream with the old moon in her arms. Though no, there is no moon, of course. There's nothing very much of anything to speak of in the sky, except a gay greyness, rain-laden over Glasgow, and today there is the very least of even this for us to get. But the light comes back, the light always comes back, and this begins tomorrow with however many minutes more of sun and serotonin. Meanwhile, there will be the winter moon for us to love the longest, fat in the frosty sky among the sharpest stars, and lines of old songs we can't remember why we know or when first we heard them. Will I come back once in a blue moon to us, unbidden? Bless us with their long-travelled light. And this poem is another one that was written kind of in a white hot heat. I don't think I even really wrote this poem, I more wrote it down. I remember it started to come through when I was visiting my mum and dad. I'd had a very hard time about something, and the poem started to come through. It was like somebody was dictating it to me. And I remember going to the loo and writing big bits of it down in toilet paper and getting a draft of it down. So my rival's house is in here somewhere, and I should have put a little thing up at the beginning. I don't think I have to tell you anything about this poem. It kind of unfolds itself, and you get, I hope, a mild surprise as to who exactly the woman in the poem's so angry about. I didn't so much write this as live it. My rival's house is peopled with many surfaces. Ormolu and gilt, slipper satin, lush velvet couches, cushions so stiff you can't sink in. Tables polished clear enough to see distortions in. We take our shoes off at her door, shuffle stocking sole, tiptoe. The parquet floor is beautiful and its surface must be protected. Dust cover, drawn shade, won't let the surface colour fade. Silver sugar tongs and silver salver, my rival serves us tea. She glosses over him and me. I am all edges, a surface, a shell, and yet my rival thinks she means me well, but what squirms beneath her surface I can tell. Soon my rival, capped tooth, polished nail, will fight foul for her survival. Deferential, daughterly, I sip and thank her nicely for each bitter cup. And I have much to thank her for. This son she bore, first blood to her. Never can escape scot-free the sour pot luck of family. And oh, how close this family that furnishes my rival's place. Lady of the house, queen bee, she is far more unconscious, far more dangerous than me. Listen, I was always my own worst enemy. She has taken even this from me. She dishes up her dreams for breakfast, dinner, and her salt tears pepper our soup. She won't give up. And this is another poem that I just had to write as well. It was a poem that when I wrote it, it gave me some comfort. And it's called The Baker. And it's not a woman speaking, it's a man. It's a man who bakes the cakes for that you have tea with at funerals, I think. I was thinking how it was a pity. I was trying to write these poems that were in black and white. I had these pictures of these men in black and white. And there was a print by my friend Willie Roger that is absolutely the baker, you know, with it's a lino cut. And I wanted the baker just to be thinking about how, well, you take lots of photographs at a wedding, but you don't take photographs at a funeral. And this is a poem. It's a poem of some small comfort, some beginnings of reconciliation after grief. This is the baker, and it's him speaking. I am as lucky for a funeral as a sweep is at a wedding, when with his red eyes, furred brush, and burnt smell, he blesses bridal lace with his soil and smirching. Thus do my worknight whites, the cracks in my dusty boots, my overall trousers of flower-stiffened linen, hansel your black ties and pressed mourning suits. Although I am not by your side, nor does anyone photograph my or that rawest absence. Dawn delivery to this hotel had me shoulder those boards of my generous dozens, as all week neighbours came with baked stuffs up the saddest path to your door, wanting to bring something sweet and light to where nothing can be so anymore. And now I sleep on sacks washed soft, while your time at the cold grave over, or after that stare at the core of the terrible oven, take tea and funeral cakes together. Let sober girls in black and white replenish plates and freshen up the cooling cups with warm, as if tomorrow like live yeast could rise and prove. I say, such crumbs do no harm. In nights, while I will work and you will grieve, weak tea, sudden hunger for the heel of a new loaf, white dawn and the surprise of appetite will have you tear a lump of goodness off. Sooner, later, a new season's wind will lift, though it may be many daily loaves from this dark hour, as you let go, fling and feel the ashes sift around your footsteps like spilt flour. And before I got that bit of comfort, which I think was probably after the death of both of my parents, quite a while after them, a good bit before, the night before my father died, I had managed to write a bit of an elegy for my mother, who died a year before. And I read it for the first time that night, I remember, and then I came through and I was staying with my dad, and bloody hell did he not have a horrible heart attack. So this poem had been written during the previous year, and it had been about that universal thing you have to do. My dad and I had done this the year before, a bit, when my mum had died. The moment she died, my mother's dance dresses turned from the colours they really wear to the colours I imagine them to be. I can feel the weight of bump-toed silver shoes swinging from their ankle straps as she swaggers up the path towards her dad, light-headed from airman's kisses. Here, at what I'll have to learn to call my father's house, yes, every ragbag scrap of duster prints her, even more vivid than a Milford snapshot on some seafront in a white cardigan and that exact frock. Old lipsticks, liquid stockings, labels like Harella, Gorée, Bercatex, and as I manhandle whole outfits into bin bags for Oxfam, every mote in my eye is a utility mark, and this is useful, the sadness of dispossessed dresses, the decency of good coats round-shouldered in the darkness of wardrobes, the gravitas of lapels, the invisible danders of skin fizzing off from them, like all that life that will not neatly end. And I would like to ask you to read a poem that I think is a poem from the same house. It's a, you know, it's the same, just the same kind of thing. And it made me laugh and cry at your dad's funeral. It's a beautiful poem of yours. So would you read it for me and for everybody else?
Yes, I will, Liz. This is The Shoes of Dead Comrades. On my father's feet are the shoes of dead comrades, gifts from the comrades' sad red widows. My father would never see good shoes go to waste, good brown leather, black leather, leather soles. Doesn't matter if they're a size too big, small. On my father's feet are the shoes of dead comrades, the marches they marched against Polaris, UCS, everything they ever believed, tied up with laces. A cobbler has replaced the sole, the heel. Brand new, my father says. Look, feel. On my father's feet are the shoes of dead comrades. These are in good nick. These were pricey. Italian leather. See that? Lovely. He always was a classy dresser, was Arthur. Ever see Willie dance? Willie was a wonderful waltzer. On my father's feet are the shoes of dead comrades. It scares me half to death to consider that one day it won't be Willie or Jimmy or Arthur, that one day someone will wear the shoes of my father, the brown and black leather of all the dead comrades. So, Suzanne Bonnar, you can see there with us, with Liz and I in this Zoom room. Lovely to have you back, Suzanne. And Suzanne, you'll recognise if you've come along to Makar before, as a really wonderful voice, a singer from Dunoon. She first broke onto the scene with Fly Me to Dunoon, the Whistly title, Fly Me to Dunoon. And you're going to sing now, Suzanne, aren't you? The Eriskay Love Lilt.
Yes.
Which you sang very beautifully at my dad's funeral.
Vermi rovano, vermi rovani, vermi sad am I without thee. When I'm lonely, my dear heart, dark the night, oh, wild the sea, by love's light my foot finds the old pathway to thee. There me there me Vermio, ora, sad am I without thee. You are music to my heart, harp of joy, Macri, moon and guidance by night, strength and light, you are to me. Vermi rovano, vermi orahi, vermi ora, sad am I without thee. In the morning when I go to the wild and lonely sea, in the calling of thy name, thy soft calling joins still to me. Vermi rovano, vermi vermi ora, so sad are we without thee.
Well, that was extraordinary to hear that beautiful song, Eriskay Love Lilt. Again, Suzanne, thank you so much for singing it. It's one of my all-time favourite songs, and was one of my dad's favourite songs. Paul Robeson used to sing it very deeply and very beautifully, and the great Paul Robeson. And it's yes, it's extraordinary to hear it. Again, do you like that song, Liz?
I love that song. I just think it's just right since primary school. We used to get to sing it, and I thought I was doing fine till Miss Pettigrew, the peripatetic music teacher, asked me to just do silent singing.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah. But you sing through your poems, Liz. You sing through your poems. I remember I had Mrs. McLeod, and she did the same to me. I didn't get to sing. So
I think that's good for us. Maybe it made us have to sing in poetry instead.
Yes, maybe it did. I think.
Who knows?
But it's a shame because it shouldn't be about that, and so many children stop singing who would enjoy singing. That's the sad thing, isn't it, when teachers say things like that to you?
It shuts you up. Shuts you up very, very firmly. Yeah,
I know.
But that will be the first time that you've sung that song again since then, is it, Suzanne?
It certainly is. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So that must have been hard for you to do. Yeah, I really, oh darling, I really appreciate that. And Liz, that was an extraordinary first set because you had such a range in there, and I loved hearing about you coming to poetry and your fascination for Keats. I'm a great lover of Keats too, and I remember getting all the Autumn and Ode to Grecian Urn, and just loving the work, and the sense that you have poets that are guiding spirits, that are kindred spirits when you write, that help you on your journey, on your way, like I had you. And Keats, John Donne, you're a kind of a poet's poet in the sense that you love other poets. You're a great reader. You love short story writers too. Your favorite short story writer is Alice Munro, but you love to read and to try and also make the sense of the world through reading and through art. And in the last poem that you read just now, the sorting through, which is one of my all-time favorite poems of yours, it's terribly moving, the life that these dresses get, and a line like the gravitas of the bells. I just love that line, the specificity of it, actually the detail of it kind of takes us through. But I was also thinking, actually, I haven't started sorting through. The shoes of the dead comrades are still in my house, and I was thinking, yes, you have to sort through when you can, don't you think, Liz?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it is useful, not just to the people that are going to get the things that they can't use anymore, but it's useful to touch things. And my mum loved clothes. I think she loved clothes more than I do, which is saying something.
That is saying something.
She just was, but so therefore putting all these things into bin bags and you take them to Oxfam, it feels very strange, but it has to be done. And my dad wanted to do it. I remember just the day after the funeral, my dad wanted to do it, so we did it. And I think the subject for most poems is love and sex and death and time. That's about it, really, and you can write about other things as well, but they're usually touching on these kinds of big issues. Definitely.
But when you became Makar, you became Makar only 6 months after the death of your beloved Tom, and I was wondering how you found being Makar. Was the role of being Makar help? Was it a help to you through that?
Somebody wants you to do something, so you might as well do it. It was like that. It was fine. It was very good for me, I think, and I did like. I do like writing things that I'm asked for, but I like to get enough time to do it. Only refused once when they asked me while I was in rehearsal for a play to do a new poem for 10 days time for a cultural conference, and I said, I can't do that, I'm busy right now, I'm so I said, but I'll do something that's right. And they said, okay, we would like you to read A Man's a Man for All That. And I thought, oh, I was going to pick something myself to read that was appropriate, but then I thought, okay, I'll do that. And the interesting thing was, when you read a poem that's such, the tune of that song makes it mean something different from what it does. So I remember knowing that, and I remember wanting to say that poem at your dad's funeral, you know, A Man's a Man for All That, because, you know, it is just a very strong poem, just saying exactly what Burns means it to say, and it's fabulous, you know, just the language of it.
And do you think of yourself, I mean, because I know that you love Burns and you love Burns songs and Green Grow the Rashes O, but do you think of yourself as coming down the line from Burns? Do you see yourself as being connected to him? No, nah. So who do you feel connected to as other poets? Who would you feel?
Well, I remember way back in the late 60s, they started, the Liverpool poets were suddenly very famous, and I remember reading an article in the Sunday Times saying that in the Cavern there was this band, and there was a poem of Roger McGough's "Let Me Die a Young Man's Death."
Yeah, it's
a bit late now because he's well into his 80s, so he's not. But it was a great poem, and I remember. Oh no, it's been several times. I've made him sing it to me, do it to me when I did a poetry please with him. But it was great, and I remember liking this poem a lot, and my flatmate Dorian saying, "Stick in at this poetry you're doing. Someday we'll get to meet him." And about a year and a half later, we took him out for a curry in Glasgow after our reading in the Third Eye. So, you know, that was I mean, I did feel connected to the living poets and the performing poets. I didn't presume to feel any, you know, I still have a great love of the older poets, and but I don't think I'm part of the same, you know, thing at all. I'm just part of the Appreciation Society of them, part of their fan club.
Yeah, that's lovely, and it's interesting, isn't it, Suzanne, the different ways that you come to things in your life. You know, Liz was initially was at the art school, and then became a poet. But that's a process. It's not necessarily a moment. It's a process, and it might take quite a wee while. And was that the same for you, Suzanne, coming to song?
Yes, definitely, because I was actually told to go into acting to start with, and so then I thought I'll just sing, because I didn't train in any way in acting, so I thought I'll just sing instead. And then, of course, through singing, that led into acting and various other things, and I think you see how you really understand the sense of a voice developing, and it's many things, isn't it? It's like cross-pollinization, like bees, isn't it? You know, with honey, it takes a long time to develop. It's a continual process, and I think the older I get, the more I really, really appreciate that, because I think also it can be really difficult being younger. You've less to prove, I think, the older you get, and you grow into yourself more, which is a fantastic thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's very true, that you definitely grow into yourself, and also I guess you're not so self-conscious. I mean, you might be sensitive still, but you're not so self-conscious about.
Yes. There's got to be some consolation for the terrible thing your body. And your eyebrows,
and don't tell you, do
ears and your chin. There's got to be some consolation for all the horrible things that flesh is here.
There's no pun hanging the right way.
Maybe the fact that you don't care is a good consolation for that. You don't care what other people think anymore. It's quite good.
So. Yes, it is, isn't it? That's the way to go.
That's a big relief. That's a big relief. When you're 16, you're so self-conscious you can hardly walk down the street. You know, you're just terrible. Do you remember whenever you were about that age, you would think, if you saw somebody in the distance coming towards you, you thought, now what do I do with my eyes till I get near them? And you tried to look away, you know. And it's not a question that would occur to you now, but you thought, how do I approach, you know, how do I get there, go hello and get past? It's awful. But then there was always John Keats and Khrushchev backing down, and you're not dying at the age of 15, a virgin and all that. saying to me that he'd met somebody talking to him about somebody in a pub down in the south side where he lives before all this lockdown, and the guy was talking about the Cuba crisis to him and said, "Oh, it was terrible, son. I thought I was going to die before I'd ever had a lumber." And I think that's saying in a posh way of the poem.
That's great. I'd actually forgotten the word lumber. That's just great.
I was going to say the other side of that, Liz, through nursing, is being with people when you see they don't get to fulfill certain things in life, and that's quite a powerful thing too. So you've just got to take the moments, haven't you? You've got to appreciate what you've got and take the moments and run with it. You're 16.
I was really fascinated. I was really fascinated during your reading, Liz. I mean, struck again by just the precision of the memory and the details, and how close you are to the child that you were to, and to your family and to your house. You get a sense of you through time, and it seems to me that we come to a point in our lives. You know, I will be 59 this year. Tell me I don't look that old. I'll be 59 this year. Thank you.
I'm not going to give you that love you've asked for, Jackie. I'm not going to give it to you.
but you come to a point in your life where the girl that you were actually starts to not necessarily get further away, but start to feel closer to you, because you start to think about the girl you were and childhood, and how you remembered things, and your mum, dad, the house that you grew up in, and all of that. So Liz, could you just tell us, you know, a little bit about that, about your house and being 4 and moving into your house?
Yeah, when I think about it, I mean, I now love painting and drawing again. You know, I was at the Wednesday drawing today. We actually met and socially distanced in a studio, about 6 of us, and we were yards away from each other all the time. But it was fun. But I was thinking, my mum, when she got a house, my family, we lived first of all with one set of grandparents and then another. My mum and dad had come back from the war. They'd been away for 6 years, and there were no houses, and they waited for ages in one bedroom above the living room, and then another next door. And then when we got a house, I was 4, and it was just after the king had died, but the Queen had not been crowned yet. But you know, so the coronation was in 53, but this was in 52. And we went, Mum and I got 2 buses and went to this county house that we were staying in. And Mum, she got into a Celanese slip over a nice dress, and there was a tennis ball in the toe of each of 2 stockings, and she rolled it back and forward in trays with sort of distemper, because you weren't allowed to put paper on this plaster, that would have fallen off or something. So she was stippling, so she, green and orange, she did this, she stood there and spatters went. It was a sort of 30s effect. And I was thinking, God, Jackson Pollock would have been quite proud about it. I'll maybe get that in a poem sometime, my mum painting the walls.
Yeah, I think there's just such a lovely story, and it's so freeing. There's something so freeing and absolutely brilliant about it, but it also makes you feel that your mum has some of the child still in her, and that brings me to...
She did. She was a good laugh right up until the end. Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. But that brings me to the next moment where we've got a real treat, because all 3 of our singers are going to sing a song that Liz has picked for them to sing. So could we welcome back into our Zoom?
You'll understand why later, perhaps.
Hopefully. But could we welcome back into our Zoom room Claire Brown? Hello, Claire.
Hello there.
and Katherine Philpott.
Hi.
And it's really lovely. It's been a kind of immense joy working with everybody on this program and listening to the range of songs that you've picked, you know, from your early Brecht, Claire. I was reminded of Brecht saying, you know, in the dark times will there be singing? Yes, there will be singing about the dark times. And I think that what we've tried to do in Makar to Makar is bring some singing into these dark times. So it's lovely to have you, Claire, who's got such an interesting career, and we've worked with so many different times, and to have Katherine back, who's also got a really interesting life as a textile student, and you're working, Katherine, as well. You're working and you're appearing on this. So it's really interesting how multi-layered our lives are. And you're in the Highlands at the moment, aren't you, Claire?
Yeah, I'm in Montrose in the northeast of Scotland. I've gone home to see my mum, which is nice. It's nice to do the last Makar to Makar in Scotland.
That's lovely, yes, because it feels like a kind of a coming home, this Makar to Makar, an actual coming home for you in your case, Claire, but a coming home in my case too, in lots and lots of different ways. Too many to unpick right now. So for now, Liz, would you tell everyone why you picked this song, and then we'll hear it, or do you want to tell them afterwards?
I think I would like you just to listen and enjoy this song, and I hope in my next set the song will start, and you'll start to see exactly why I was terribly thrilled when you said that everybody wanted to sing this song. I mean, I wasn't trying to force them to in any way. Please remember that. But whenever you told me that they're actually going to sing, that's lovely. That's lovely. You know, I was just really thrilled that you would sing this song.
Okay,
Jackie
well,
wants to, not me.
great. Take it away. Take it away. Take it away, Suzanne, Claire, Katherine.
A blast from the past. A blast from the past.
Are you going to Scarborough Fair? Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Remember me to one who lives there. She once was a true love of mine. Tell her to make me a cambric shirt. Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Without no seams nor needlework, then she'll be a true love of mine. Tell her to find me an acre of land. Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Between the salt water and the sea strands, then she'll be a true love of mine. Tell her to reap it with a sickle of leather. Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme, and gather it all in a bunch of heather. Then she'll be a true love of mine. Are you going to Scarborough Fair? Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Remember me to one who lives there. She once was a true love of mine.
Oh, that was just such a treat. Absolutely wonderful and very, very moving to have you all sing together. I think that in these strange times that we miss that sense of communality, of being able to do communal things. And it's strange that this wee Zoom room has given us some sort of sense of communality, and that we've had to try and adapt to the form that each and every one of us have adapted to the form and been changing week to week in adapting to the new Zoom room, as it were. I was wondering what that was like for you, Katherine, singing that song and having two people join in with you.
It was honestly so amazing to be able to sing with Suzanne and Claire. Every single time I've watched one of their Makar to Makars, I've been blown away by their singing. They're absolutely incredible singers. And that song itself, to be honest, it used to actually terrify me, that song, when I was little, like, because absolutely terrify me, because it was always used in this like sort of like old-timey ghost story that my parents used to tell me, and it revolved around sort of like the Scarborough Fair, blah, blah, and that song was like part of this whole story. So it's always used to scare me. So when I got your email saying that was what Liz wanted me to sing, I was a little bit apprehensive. I know it's but
it's behind you.
Behind me.
She's a bit. She said to me, wouldn't it be nice to sing Scarborough Fair? Yeah, she said to me. And I said, oh, that would be lovely. But my goodness. And then she says, Liz wants you to sing Scarborough Fair. Typical. She is a bism. I would like it to be on record. The current Makar is an absolute bism. And Suzanne is laughing because she knows it's true.
No, it's not true. It's absolutely not true. But anyway, but moving swiftly on, Claire, what was that like for you to sing in this kind of format? Is it, you know, because there you are, you're at home in the Highlands with your mum, and your Eska's in bed, and here you are in this kind of super modern technological place singing with two people that are in other places too, both in Glasgow.
It's really nice working with people again. You know, that's what I trained as an actor. That's what I trained in, to work in an ensemble and to work and bounce off people. And it's all very well doing it by yourself, but it gets awful lonely. And you can't help but learn something when you work with other people as well. And it was really, really nice. And it feels like a nice completion to this circle of Makar series as well. That was lovely. Thank you. Thanks for letting me do that.
Yes, Katherine.
Yeah. It was beautiful.
It was really, really beautiful to hear, and I just used to love that song as well. Although it wasn't me that told you to sing it; it was Liz.
Guys, it's all right.
but it's very strange that because we've all got so much emotion, we've got emotion, and sometimes there's not really the place for that emotion to go, and singing along with poetry, along with art, seems a great release, and it's become, you know, listening to music, listening to poetry has been a real savior for me. I mean, I actually don't know how people get through their lives without us, and in this program we've had so many responses of people that have been writing to us every week saying that this program itself has meant such a lot to them. And it seems to me you actually can't underestimate how necessary poetry is, how it goes to the heart of people. I mean, I actually am an essential worker. I'm an essential worker being a Makar.
No, it's not, underestimate. You mustn't underestimate. It's not, you can't underestimate how that would mean the opposite, I think. You know.
Absolutely. But this
you can't overestimate how important it is. Yeah.
And I think the arts in general, you know, you think people have been watching films, been watching Shakespeare online, they've been listening to music, you know, it's in the National Theatre of Scotland, what they've put on. It's the arts, isn't it, that have saved us all in lots of ways. So here's hoping that we get, that people get, you know, support and help to continue a livelihood.
Yes, I must say that I miss it, and I don't think theatre's the same online. You know, it's just, I hope, I really hope. I want to go to a live concert. I want to go and see a Punch and Judy show, anything, you know. I want to be there in the space, you know.
I want to be in a rehearsal room again. That's when you smell. That's when you smell people, and that's when you get your real. Well, you do. It's
that's not always a good thing.
That's not what we did in our play, but. There's no smelling when we did Jackie's play, but you smell, and it's chemical, and you that's when you get the real connection. But this will be a connection for many people, I think, and if you can't physically touch someone, then this is this is virtually touching someone, which I think is nice.
Yeah.
I think it's important that people can't always get out, that we've got to remember people can't always get access. So this is actually at home that don't get the chance to get to theatres too. So
Yes.
that is important.
Open palm to the window. Out in the garden, her grandson reaches up, mirrors her, stretching fingers, and they smile and smile as if they touched warm flesh, not cold glass. More than 40,000 years ago, men or women splayed their fingers thus and put their hands to bare rock. They chewed ochre, red ochre, gritted charcoal, and blew with projectile effort that really took it out of them, their living breath. Raw gouts of pigment spattered the living stencil that was each's own living hand and made their mark. The space of absence was the clean, stark picture of their presence, and it pleased them. We do not know why they did it, and maybe they did not either, but they knew they must. It was the cold cave wall, and they knew they were up against it. The birthday boy is juggling. He's been spending time in the lockdown learning. But though he still can't keep it up for long, his grandmother dumb shows most extravagant applause. She toasts them all in tea from her best granny in the world mug, winking and licking her lips ecstatically as they cut the cake. Miming hunger, miming prayer for her hunger to be sated. The slim girl dances and her grandmother claps and claps again, blinking tears. Another matched high five at her window. Neither the blown candles or the blown kisses will leave any permanent mark, unless love does, on them. On this, the only afternoon they will be all alive together. On just this day, the boy is 10. Jackie made a request to me. You know how I asked Jackie to do that poem, The Shoes of the Dead Comrades? She said to me, would I read her favourite poem of mine? It's an old poem of mine. I know that this poem is coming up for, it's coming up for 48 or something years old. Yes, I wrote it when I was 22 for my wee sister Janice, who was for her 12th birthday. And it's just called Poem for My Sister. And it was in that very first book that Jackie held up at the beginning. So she must have liked it then. Just a wee poem. Poem for my sister. My little sister likes to try my shoes, to strut in them, admire her spindle-thin 12-year-old's legs in this season's styles. She says they fit her perfectly, but wobbles in their high heels. They're hard to balance. I like to watch my little sister play hopscotch, admire the neat hops and skips of her, their quick peck, never missing their mark, not overstepping the line. She is competent at peaver. I try to warn my little sister about unsuitable shoes, point out my own distorted feet, the calluses, odd patches of hard skin. I should not like to see her in my shoes. I wish she could stay sure-footed, sensibly shod. When I was the Makar, I did get asked a few times to write something special, and this was for a good cause. I thought this was to encourage people to join the Scottish Children's Panel, this system we've got here, where in Scotland, a child who commits a crime or a child who's a victim of a crime, if they're a child, they're regarded as a child in trouble, and they're treated very compassionately by the and they need a lot of lay members, and they were having a campaign trying to get some. So this is just a poem. It's not, once again, it's not me speaking. And I don't think it's a girl. It could be a 16-year-old girl, but I think it's a boy. I think it's a sort of guy about 15, a really truculent guy of 15. And the poem just says, listen, trouble is not my middle name. It is not what I am. I was not born for this. Trouble is not a place, though I am in it, deeper than the deepest wood, and I'd get out of it. Who wouldn't, if I could? Hope is what I do not have in hell, not without good help now. Could you listen hard and well to what I cannot say, except by what I do? And when you say, I do it for badness, this much is true. I do it for badness done to me, before any badness that I do to you. Hard to unfankle this, but you can help me, maybe. Loosen all these knots and really listen. I cannot plainly tell you this, but if you care, then beyond all harm and hurt, real hope is there. My great friend, Gordon MacLean, who I've just made a record with him and a couple of people. We're getting now to the cambric shirt, but Gordon, he's a great record producer, and he's very adventurous, because although he knows about Miss Pettigrew, the peripatetic music teacher, telling me to stop groaning, he encourages me to do spoken word things with music. I've made a couple of CDs one with the Hazy Janes, who are, I've known them for a long time. Two of them are the children of my great friend Michael Mara. Michael Mara is the big collection between Gordon MacLean and I. And Gordon, he's got a son and a daughter. They've got lovely names. There's Soren MacLean, a great musician. Some of you will know him. And there's Camry MacLean. She's a mum of two wee girls. But I hadn't met Camry, and I could never remember her name. I knew Soren quite well because I've met him at lots of gigs. But Camry I hadn't met, so it was hard to remember such an unusual name. It's a beautiful name. And Gordon said, "Oh, you'll remember it. It's just Chambry. It's cambric. It's the Scots word for cambric." So we both we're a pair of old hippies. So we both sat and said, "Tell her to make me a cambric shirt of deep forest green." And he told me a lovely wee story. And the wee story in it is in this poem, and I wrote it. So this is for both Gordon and Camry MacLean, and it's called A Cambric Shirt. Because the sound of his daughter's name was as soft to him as the cloth it was in Scots the old word for, Camry, Chambry, a cambric shirt was what that day he wore to her wedding. And it was the two of them alone knew the why of it. Because he tapped her up forever in the love that, light in his heart, let her go to the good man any father would be glad to see his lassie married on to. This was atween them baith one small secret hanseling, a cambric shirt. The shirt he'd have given off his back for her, would still without the asking. The coat so warm when the rivers freeze and the snowflakes storm to keep her from the howling winds. His plaidie to every angry aunt, he'd shelter her, hap her, wheel clad in the cold blast, in the cold blast. His father love, the Camry sack, without ony seam or needlework. Sammy Cahn, the poet, said, the songwriter said, they ask you all the time, which comes first, the words or the music? He said, first the phone call. So this is George and Ira and George. First the phone call, as the man said, and he sure said a mouthful to that which comes first, words or music question. Who knows? Except for every good one, there are 10 in the trash. Songs you slaved over that just won't sing, in which no lover ever will hear some wisecrack, twist itself to tell his unique heartbreak. So sore, so personal, so well he just can't stop humming it. The simplest 3-chord melody might have legs once it's got the lyric, not tunesmiths, ham and eggs. Each catchphrase, colloquialism, each cliche, each snatch of overheard on the subway or street can say so much when rhymed right, when phrased just so to fit its own tune that was born for it. A Manhattan night in 29 or 30. It's late. You're reading Herrick. Just back from a party, your brother calls out, "Hey, let's work." You watch him shuck his jacket, loose his black tie, and grab your book. "Gather your rosebuds," he says, and slams it shut. He's right. Hard against the deadline, and at night, shoes off, moon up, just daring you. Piano open, that's when you two can make it happen. The tune that smells like an onion, play it very slow. Then the one that sounds like the Staten Island ferry till you hear the words. Brother, they're already there, under the siren and the train and the cab horn blare of his jazz of endless possibilities that will only fit its own fine-tuned lyric that is born for it. Michael Mara, and now Claire, sing us a song.
Well, I'm going to sing Harmless by Michael Mara. Wi my hand on my heart and my heart in my mouth, wi arms that could reach o'er the sea. My feet might be big, but the insects are safe. They'll never get stood on by me. Harmless, there's never nae bother fae me. I gang to the library and tak out a book, and then I gae home for my tea. I save a' the coupons that come with the soup, and when I have saved 53, I send a 50, put 3 in a drawer, and then something gets posted to me. Harmless, there's never nae bother fae me. A day where I'm tell and I tidy my room, and then I come down for my tea. There's ane or twa lads wha could cry my chums. They're canny and meek as can be. There's Tam wi as pigeons and Wal wi as mice, and Robert McLennan and me. Harmless, there's never nae bother fae me. I gang to the library and tak out a book, and then I go home for my tea. Harmless, there's never nae bother fae me. Naebody'd notice if I wasna there, if I didna come hame for my tea. Naebody'd notice if I wasna there, if I did not come home for my tea.
How wonderful.
Well, wasn't
The
that just
gentlest,
wonderful?
the gentlest song in the world from the gentlest man in the world. It's lovely.
I know these lines nobody would notice if I didn't come home for my tea, are just oh God, they're just amazing. He's just a fantastic songwriter, isn't he, Claire?
Oh.
What was it like to come across him?
Oh, it was great. It was great. He was just a magic person. He saw things, he would always see things that other people wouldn't notice. He'd point something out the window, you know, like if you were in a train journey and you were going to some gig, he'd point something out. And he just had such a great, gentle sense of humour. He found everything funny and touching and interesting. He was a one-off, you know.
Yeah,
He just
I
was.
remember coming to see you. You're both doing your show quite a few times, and you begin with "Green Grow the Rashes." So it's very moving, and I love so many of his songs. I love the one about the couple that are parting and they're having to split up their collection.
The record collection. I love that one. Yeah,
that's one of my songs. But Claire, what did you love about this song?
There's no meat on this, is there? It is absolutely is what it is, and I think he's as good as they come. And as an actor to do it, it's extraordinary. I think he absolutely nails it, and I think he gets to the heart of things. I'm just going to be honest. About the first 20 times of me practicing this, I couldn't get through it without greeting, because it means an awful lot, and it was touted as the alternative Scottish national anthem. You know, everybody's fighting and everybody's talking about how brave they are, and us and them and us and them, and he's, you know, why shouldn't it be about this? Why shouldn't it be about this person who goes about his business day to day, and he's got his small group of friends, and it's very, very simple, but as a result really powerful. It feels like just I think he's extraordinary. I don't think I can oversay that. I think he's absolutely brilliant. And then I said to my mum on just very quickly, I said to my mum on Saturday, because I've come up home, and I said, oh, I'm going to sing a Michael Mara song. Do you know who that is? And Mum went, oh yeah, well, he was called Mick when I knew him, and we used to go to the Marriott dance hall in Dundee, because she was from Minas Hill, which is just beside Lochhead, and he knew him, and so the whole thing just feels really special tonight. Just feels awful poignant.
And it also feels like everything's connected. I mean, what are the chances of that? It's just sort of lovely that your mum knew him, and that they were. I just love the weird connections. And actually, during this program, we've discovered so many different connections between people, different friendships that we didn't know existed, and different connections that we have with the people that we've loved that are here in our hearts. And tonight, I'm wearing these earrings that belong to my dear friend, Trisha Wood, and Liz is what? Liz, you're wearing.
When you said that, I said, well, I'm wearing my Bluebird of Happiness brooch. She gave me this just after Tom died, and she said, could you be happy again sometimes, you know? So I always wear it. It's a wee blue, it's lovely. It's a wee 30s brooch, you know, a wee Bluebird of Happiness.
But it seemed to me extraordinary, because neither of us told each other that we were doing this, and then we're just, you know, we're here with Trisha. And Peggy Seeger, who was on last week's Makar to Makar, said that there's not a single day goes by when she doesn't think of somebody that she's loved and lost. Not a single day goes by. And it seems to me that we keep up our conversations with our living, but we also keep up our conversations with our dead. And in this Makar to Makar,
it's about getting older. It's about getting older as well. You know,
exactly.
You have more people that aren't with, you know, but I've got another friend, my friend Ralph, who's 84, says, you've got to keep up with some young people, you've got to make up some new friends. I feel very lucky in that, you know, making a record the other week in Mull with Gordon MacLean as the engineer, with Andrew Wazilik, brilliant pianist, and I don't know if anybody but Andrew and Gordon would have thought about putting. I didn't write any songs, but there was just certain poems of mine that he thought he would put some music to, and it was just a magical thing to do. And I thought, will this work? And Gordon always says, well, the worst happens is that we have a weekend where we record some things and they don't work. So, but you know, it didn't happen that time. So it's just lovely that I've got wee bits of collaboration. I mean, it seems like ages ago because it was in February, just before all this stuff kicked off. Just after it, immediately after I went to Australia, and 3 weeks later I was in practically one of the last planes back.
But wee bits of collaboration are what we live for, because we live to find these connections, whether the connections in Tobermory or whether the connections in Montrose. We look for the connections all the time in people because it makes us feel less alone. And tonight, we've been connecting ourselves not just between the people that are here in our Makar's room, but also between the people that are not and that are here in our hearts. We've been remembering my dear dad, John Kay. We've been remembering Tricia Wood, and we've been remembering Tom Logan, and look, and all of you out of there will have somebody that you're remembering too. So I just wanted to have all of us and bring Suzanne and Catherine back into the Zoom room right now, and that's how they like in order. Hello, hi Suzanne, and I thought because this is the last Makar to Makar, it would be really appropriate and a lovely thing if we raised our glasses to everybody that we're remembering and everybody that we've loved, that we've lost. So here's to Daddy.
To them, but here's to you, Jackie, and this wonderful achievement of doing 14 Makar to Makars. You must be exhausted, and you're entitled to be, but thank you very much. And you know, I personally have to thank Val McDermott, who held up, she held up that wee book that you held up earlier on, and God did I feel terrific. And she read a poem of mine that if the SQA had any sense, they would have put it on the curriculum. Instead of which there be six other poems, some of which won't make any sense to 18-year-old kids, but then they don't fit into the theme. You know, they should do this poem, because I wrote this when I was 18. So it's just a wee poem called The Choosing. Do you want me to do that just now, and then we'll all toast?
Yeah, crack on. Yeah, crack on.
Okay. So this is The Choosing. And here's to the whole Makar to Makar project. And thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.
And thanks so much, Val McDermott, for making me feel $1 million. The Choosing. We were first equal, Mary and I, with same-coloured ribbons in mouse-coloured hair, and with equal shyness, we curtsied to the lady counsellor for copies of Collins' children's classics. First equal, equally proud. Best friends too, Mary and I, a common bond in being cleverest equal in our small school, small class. I remember the competition for top desk, or to read aloud the lesson at school service, and my terrible fear of her superiority at sums. I remember the housing scheme where we both stayed, the same houses, different homes, where the choices got made. I don't know exactly why they moved, but anyway, they went. Something about a 3 apartment and a cheaper rent, but sometimes from the top deck of the high school bus, I glimpsed, among others on the corner, Mary's father, mufflered, contrasting strangely with the elegant greyhounds by his side. He didn't believe in high school education, especially for girls, or in forking out for uniforms. 10 years later, on a Saturday, I am coming from the library, sitting near me on the bus, Mary, with the husband who is tall, curly-haired, has eyes for no one else but Mary, her arms around the full-shaped vase that is her body. Or you can see where the attraction lies in Mary's life. Not that I envy her, really. And I am coming from the library with my arms full of books. I think of those prizes that were ours for the taking, and wonder when the choices got made, we don't remember making.
Yeah, I love that poem. It's just one of my all-time favourite poems of yours, and it's just so true. I mean, it must resonate with people everywhere that idea, the choices that get made that we don't remember making, and setting out together and then being apart. And we have all these people in our lives that we've been separated from because of going down different paths. You know, I remember I was the first in my family to go to university, and one of only 3 from my school to go, and so things started to feel already quite different. And then I remember going to the Royal Scottish Academy of Music and Drama as a kid, to the classes there. Marissa, Suzanne's daughter, is going there now. Wonderful. But you know, I went there, and it was really thanks to them, the Royal Scottish Academy of Music and Drama, that I'm probably doing this, because I learned to project my voice, and I learned to improvise, and I learned to have a wee bit of confidence in myself. And I also met kids whose mothers drank lapsang souchong tea. Which I'd never encountered lapsang. I came back and told my dad, you know, and this woman drinks lapsang souchong. Lapsang what? Lapsang what? and so everybody in that class was kind of middle class, and I wasn't. And but it gave me an opening and a different kind of a possible life. I always wanted to be an actress.
Oh yeah.
Talking about lives, I wanted to be an actress, and I never got to be one. I remember being at the at the Fort Theatre and going for an audition one time, and this woman saying to me, "You're really good, dear. You're just the wrong colour." And I suddenly realised that I wouldn't get picked for these parts, because it was long before the days of interracial casting, long before those days. So I became a writer really out of a necessity, in a way, because I couldn't act, but there's still the ham actress is in me. She's raging and strong, the ham actress, and she gets to go out in the boot and over perform, and it's fascinating. And doing this program is really, really fascinating. My dear friend Caroline Duffy said to me, having watched quite a few Makar to Makars, "At last you found your form."
Typically from Caroline, that's a double-edged compliment. Finally, you found your form. Cheeky business, isn't she? I love her too. I mean, we're very lucky, you know. But I mean, I think we're very lucky to have such good friends and support from each other, which is, you know,
Absolutely.
I think at the moment, I think during COVID, I don't know where we would be without friendship and creativity. Whatever your creativity is, whether it's making a really nice meal or being good at darning, you know, or you know, and getting something really
Darning.
that's my hobby. Rescuing charity shop cashmere jumpers by darning like a, you know, it's just, I like darning. It's comfort.
I didn't know that about you and liking darning. This is the first time I've ever heard you saying that you like darning. It's amazing. That reminds me of, you know, a while ago in Waterstone's bookshop in Glasgow, I was doing a book signing. I think it was with you, Liz. And yeah, it was with you. And my old sewing teacher turned up in the book signing queue, Mrs. Tullett, of sewing and knitting, and she said to me, "You never could knit, Jacqueline." And I said, no, Mrs. Tullett, but I can write. And she went, "That you can, dear, sign here." And I signed it, and I quite loved that. I loved that Mrs. Tullett said that to me. But anyway, I think we could go on all night. It's been really, really wonderful. I would like to raise my glass to my dad, and I would like each of you to say who you're raising your glass to. Here's to my dear dad. What about you, Claire?
I'm going to raise my glass to my partner Joe's gran, who we lost this year, Lily Scotcher.
Yeah. And what about you, Liz?
I'm going to toast all my friends that are keeping me going just now.
Great. Suzanne?
I'm going to toast all my friends too, and to new friends as well. That's been the lovely thing about this project. That's the most important thing in life.
Yes. And Kat?
I think I'm actually going to toast my mum, because as I'm sure you know, we've had a pretty rough few years, and she has kept me going, and she's encouraged me to do this, and she is just an incredible woman. So this is to my mum.
Here's to your mum. Here's to Jane. She is incredible, an incredible woman. But I feel very privileged because I've spent this evening with a whole bunch of absolutely incredible women. So I'll just say, but before I actually leave completely, Liz, I would love you to just tell me a little bit about your favourite bookshop library, theatre.
Sorry, my favourite bookshop's the Highland Bookshop across the road. It's an independent bookshop, quite a small bookshop, and they will get books in for you in a couple of days notice, and they're fantastic. They phone you up and say, come and collect your book. I love them very much, and I'm thrilled to, I'm thrilled that I've got an independent bookshop across the road, and who would not want to support that? My library is the library of, this will break my heart, the Macintosh Library at the Glasgow School of Art, which had just been restored and was almost ready to go when it burnt down again. So I hope I'll sometime get back in it. But that's the place where I wrote all my early poems. The Choosing was written there in that Macintosh Library. It was written there while I was trying to escape from Roman lettering with Miss Tebbit upstairs. I didn't like that. So it was a lovely open shelves bookshop, which is a library, which is what I like. Also the Lyceum Theatre. It was very hard. What was I going to say? Was I going to say Oranmore? I love Oranmore. The Tron Theatre, where I first worked with Siobhan Redmond. But the Lyceum, the big beautiful Lyceum, the old lady of Grindlay Street in Edinburgh, built in 1884. Henry Irving's Royal Lyceum, a grand old theatre, and they have done all my big plays there, and I'm just so thrilled to have worked there. So yes, sorry, I forgot that bit of it.
It's okay. No, it's okay. We'll probably just switch the orders. It's probably my mistake. But really, really wonderful that you picked the Lyceum, because just about a year ago to this day, the Lyceum opened the first National Theatre of Scotland's production of Red Dust Road. And I remember this, it was my son's birthday that day, his 31st birthday, and it was terribly moving, because it made him miss his grandparents in a particular way, even though they were both still around then. I guess there's such a thing as kind of anticipatory grief, and so yes, it made me think about that, what's happened in this space of a year to us, the most kind of extraordinary and strange year that many of us have ever actually lived through. It's been really, really something. But the thing that's actually helped me get through this year and this particular part of the year has been working on Makar to Makar. So thank you very much to all you wonderful singers. You're just fantastic. I love your voices. I love hearing you every week. It's filled me with joy and excitement. It's just been a huge privilege to do this show, and great fun actually. It's been really great fun. So thank you very much to our Makar, our former Makar, and our Makar of the week, Liz Lochhead. Huge thank you to Suzanne Bonnar. Huge thank you to Katherine Philpott, and a massive thank you to Claire Brown. It's been so fantastic working with all of you week to week on Makar to Makar. So it's a huge privilege to be finishing it, and absolutely fantastic, really, really fantastic. I want to thank everybody at home that's joined in and been watching us and been liking it. But I'd also like to say a very, very special thank you. Peggy Seeger mentioned last week that I've got a wonderful team, and it's true. I've had a really, really wonderful team working on this programme behind the scenes. So I'd like to thank Denise Else, Colin Waters, Winnie Brooke-Young, and Ewan McLaren. They've been really fantastic to work with. We've worked our socks off, and it's been really special. Thank you to I couldn't have done it without them. And thank you very, very much to the National Theatre of Scotland, to Edinburgh International Book Festival, to Home, and to the School of Arts and Media in Salford. This, as I say, is our last Makar to Makar of this season, but who knows, we might be back, and we're planning, we hope, something special to surprise you sometime very soon. So watch this space. You can see all of the old episodes again if you want to go on the National Theatre of Scotland's website, or if you want to check out our website, which is www.makartomakar.com, and the 2 is with the number 2. And you can also get the poems, a separate podcast that have been on week to week. You can download them, just if you're into just being able to listen to the poems and not see the programmes, you can do that too. So these are going to be an amazing resource, an amazing archive, and I feel very proud and privileged to have had a chance to do this. Thank you very much. Massive thanks to you, Liz. Thank you so much, and thank you everybody at home. I think we're all going to give you a simultaneous Zoom wave now, because that's the sign of our time. So should we all wave together on the stroke of 3? 1, 2, 3.